Artem Demchenko, Ice Claw. It is said that hope is last to die, but the truth is, it never dies. Your appearance is not so important. More sufficient is what is in under it. Chapter 1. In the little border town called Stormwind, located in the northern part of the Kingdom of Men, the chilling morning finally spread across the abandoned streets, covered with a thick blanket of glowing snow. With the first little dazzling sun rays crawling in the darkest corners of tiny stony houses, the great Lord Gilius, god of the sun, pulled them out of the covers, making them wake up and break hypnosis, the powerful monarchs of sleep, mighty chains of slavery. Stormwind finally began its rapid rhythm of life. Within a couple of hours, despite the coldest weather you can ever imagine, snowy streets of this lonely town, suffering the consequences of yesterday night's blizzard, were full of people moving on their way to different places like little busy bees on their way to hive. Some chucks were in a hurry to begin their tiring workday in breweries and forges. Some headed to their relatives to give them a friendly squeeze, and some just wanted to moist their throats with a nice portion of heartwarming elvish ale. And the one favored idea of the last. From an old house, roof of which had been under the threat of breaking into 1,000 pieces of wood for many years, a young man with a vivid teen face, dressed in a warm furry jacket, the clouds hot breath of whom were disappearing in the bright bluish sky, dashed out of the door and rapidly, without any sense of sleepiness common for the biggest part of Stormwind's population, headed in the unknown direction. One may fairly admit that few people attack the morning like this fellow did, and that's why our hero was wordily hammered for his hurry by every single person who met him on the way. All in all, the road to the favorite place of not of the most amiable man of the town didn't take very long. After a couple of minutes, he was standing at the door of the most beloved, fairly the only one, inn in this isolated town, which was called L'Oriel's Edge. He gasped slowly, warmed his trembling hands with the steams of hot air coming from his lungs, and entered the inn. Actually, in that time of the day, this place was rather empty. Big round oak tables, spoilt with prints of knives and forks, were standing lonely, like a divorced man, waiting for potential customers to come. Maybe it wasn't the exact time for drinksters to come in. It was a rather early hour for everyone, especially for those who worked all day till dawn. However, young man didn't stay alone for a long time. In a couple of minutes, probably having heard the steps of the irritating sound of the opening wooden door, the owner appeared from the cellar, bringing some bottles of infinite supply of heartwarming ale. When he noticed our hero heading towards the desk, the pub owner grinned cheerfully and roared like a bear, waking after a long winter's sleep. "Ah, look at that handsome fellow there. Well, that's the chuck I've been waiting for the whole morning. Come here, boy. What an early bird you are. Jeez. How's going, Azrael?" "Well, it's pretty much the same as it was, you know," the young man grinned, having sat in the vacant chair. "Nothing new, nothing special. Man, this job is pissing me off. I'm so bushed. The only thing which saves me in your motherless bubbling ale. Can I have one, by the way?" "Ah, now I see the frequent visitor out here," the hospitable host of Tavern laughed. "Just hang on. I'll get it ready in a minute." So, Azrael scratched his head, thinking of a topic to speak. "Is there any news happen around?" "Ha! Man, I'm dying to tell you the story occurred. It was a hell of a fight out here yesterday," Innkeeper instantly replied, nearly spilling the jug with water standing nearby. "Gosh! There's two Dums, you know them, Asian and Lodge. These drunken scumbags nearly killed each other. The bruises were everywhere as if they were born with them. Luckily, everything ended up well. I'm not surprised they got in a quarrel again. Ezreal grinned, watching the innkeeper preparing the drink. In a minute, it was ready, and our young hero, having grabbed the thick wooden cup, beautified with the pretty symbol of elvish forestry, meanly gulped the strong drink in his gullet. They're the hell of a punches, filthy bastards. You're goddamn right, the owner laughed. In that moment, when Ezreal was just going to sip the drink, both heard the door opening again, and with chilling winter wind, covered with the thin carpet of snowflakes, a young man came in, clinging his tough leather boots off snow. He was a little bit more plump than Ezreal, but nevertheless, his figure was pretty muscular. He was holding the sword's handle in his hand, the end of which was beautifully carved into the form of the Beyond's head. Having cleaned his ruddy face off the leftovers of the snow, he smiled happily, and, having greeted the innkeeper with a slightly trembling voice, sat on the chair next to his fellow mate. "Ah, you won't believe it's adorable to see you in such a terrible morning, Ezreal," the mate of our hero happily gasped. "You're like a brightly shining light of sunny Gallus's chariot in such a dark world. So, what's up? How are things going?" "Thanks for such a warming greeting, Gilroy," Ezreal replied, slapping his friend on the tough back. "Well, things are pretty much the same, you know." "Just hold your breath, mate," Gilroy said impatiently. "The startling thing to know, I've begun learning magic. But without excellent success, actually. Yesterday, I nearly burned down my teacher's house, accidentally having summoned the fire spirit. Now he's trying to avoid me everywhere. I feel so embarrassed. I tried to apologize many times, but it didn't work. I'm so screwed." "Don't worry, mate," Ezreal tried to cheer up his friend. "Shit happens." "Oh, by the way," Gilroy fired. "Do you know Shelva?" Ezreal was puzzled for a second. "A girl who does whatever comes to your mind?" "Exactly. You won't believe me. She nearly got us all into the other dimension called Astral." "Ha! What a dumb she is!" Ezreal exclaimed. "Don't try to give a dwarf's barrel to a woman, 'cause she's gonna kill herself the next second. Is that how it is said, right?" The second after, everyone burst into laughter. But they didn't manage to fulfill the enjoyment of the recent joke, because all of a sudden, the entrance door creaked, and, letting in the freezing wind, the young man came in. Our heroes turned around to see the newcomer. The oddest thing to see at first was the young man's appearance. He was wearing old rotten clothes, suitable only for a warm sunny weather. He definitely wasn't dressed appropriately. His short black hair shone in the lights of the morning sun, crawling in the darkest edges of his dark forest on the head. He wasn't wearing any shoes, or something that could have warmed his pale feet. But the most noticeable thing in his appearance were his deep ultramarine eyes, nicely looking at the 3 early birds in the pub. His look seemed very strange to our early comers. All in all, the stranger walked along the narrow corridor between the tables, and, having nodded to Ezreal and Gilroy, politely addressed the innkeeper. "Good morning, sir. May I have a glass of water, please?" "Oh, sure, sir," the owner replied, stammering a little. "Anything else?" "Oh, yes, of course. Could you please add, let it be 40 pieces of ice in the mug, alright?" In that moment, Ezreal and Gilroy were completely startled at the behavior of the stranger. Well, it was pretty weird to see someone drinking the jug of water full of ice after being attacked by the freezing cold blizzard outside. But they had their breath completely taken away when the stranger, having grabbed the jug, drained it completely up to the bottom in a couple of minutes, without even stopping to take a short breath. When the jug was finally finished, newcomer gasped satisfactorily, thanked the keeper, saying, "Thank you for treatment, it was marvelous. Bye," and, having nodded to startled comrades, dashed out of the inn like a furious wind, having puzzled shocked friends completely.